What's up, guys? This is Gloom. It's been about a year and 2 months since I posted my last CD collection update. I was supposed to do one at the end of 2021, like I said I would in the last video, but I just didn't. So it's been a year. I've gotten a decent amount of new CDs, a lot of different genres. So this will be everything I've gotten since that last video, spanning like June of 2021 and into what I've gotten up to July of 2022. Like I said, a lot of different genres to go through, so hopefully it'll be interesting for you guys. This is going to be another just raw, unedited video on my iPhone, no script or anything like that, because I just don't feel like it's just a CD video. But anyways, hope you guys like my selection. If you want to comment about any of the CDs, like where I got them or any recommendations, just go ahead. All right, we'll start with where I left off, and in May of 2021. So I got the first Escape the Fate album. Why am I blanking on the name? Dying is Their Latest Fashion. I don't know why I couldn't remember that. This is the only Escape the Fate album I know, but I really like it. It's got like an old post-hardcore kind of vibe, and I really like post-hardcore as a genre. I know people are probably gonna, like smug at this album because it's Ronnie Radke, but I like the album. I think he's a good vocalist regardless of how he is as a person. All right, next we got an album that just came out when I got it. It's the Zombie 2 EP from Devil Wears Prada. This is a really, really fucking good EP. One of the best releases of last year. And one of the best releases from Devil Wears Prada in a long time. I really like the Zombie EP. I think a lot of people do. And this kind of continues that. It's heavier in some aspects, more like evolved. Really good. I'm excited for their new album. They just announced Color Decay, I think it's called. The singles for that have been good, so I'll be excited for that. Speaking of controversial with Escape the Fate, we have Take Us to My Downfall by Machine Gun Kelly. This is the deluxe Target version. Sometime around early last year, obviously he was making waves with the fact that he went to like punk music, and I heard this album and I actually kind of fucked with it. Nothing groundbreaking by any means, like pretty standard pop punk, but there's that kind of shock value and interest of a rapper going to this genre, and there are some good tracks on it. I kind of got over it after a little bit because, like I said, it's once the shock value of like, oh, this is a rapper doing pop punk kind of wears off, the songs aren't that great. They're kind of formulaic. There's some good ones like Concert for Aliens I like, Bloody Valentine, but this album's decent. I won't say it's bad, but I haven't really been too into what he's put out after this for like the new album. I think it's called Mainstream Sellout. I'm not really a fan, but this album's still decent. Machine Gun Kelly's kind of a moron though. Next we got the 10th anniversary of Viva Emptiness by Catatonia, one of my favorite bands of all time. He's actually, the first song I ever heard from him was on this album. It's called Burn the Remembrance. I actually found out about this band, it was like years ago. I used to go on that website Omegle where you talk to like anonymous people, and you could put it to where like you have your music tastes and you connect with people who have similar ones. This person I connected with recommended this band, so I'm sorry I don't remember you. It's just a one-time conversation with an anonymous person, but shout out to that dude for getting me into one of my favorite bands. Really great album. One of their more melodic and kind of straightforward, but some good fucking songs on there. Alright, now we got I'll Try Living Like This by Death's Dynamic Shroud. This is a vaporwave group, and this is one of my favorite vaporwave albums. It's kind of hard to find vaporwave albums actually printed on CD, so I'm glad I was able to get a hold of this. I wish there was more vaporwave available on CD. Usually we'll do like vinyl or cassette presses, but I'm glad to have this. This is a great album, especially if you're trying to get into vaporwave. I highly suggest the first two songs. They're two of my favorite vaporwave songs, period. And we got the newest Carnifex album, Graveside Confessions, also came out last year. Carnifex has been one of my all-time favorite bands since I was like 15, and I've never thought they put out a bad album. The last one, World War X, was good, but I don't think it was their best. I'm happy to say this album was 10 times better than World War X. Some really, really good songs on here, and then they redid some of the songs from their first album, Dead in My Arms, which actually sound really good. I'm not disappointed with this album at all. This is a really great album as far as deathcore goes. Alright, next we got a classic. We got Suicidal Tendencies, self-titled. Most people know about this album and this band already. I don't know what else I could really say about it. Obviously, you got Institutionalized. Subliminal. Me and my friends used to clown that song because it was in Grand Theft Auto 5. We used to think it sounded awful, but it kind of grew on me, and eventually I grew to really, really like this album. Suicidal Failure is also another great song. But this is a good album. This is the only album I've heard in full by Suicidal Tendencies, but I definitely fuck with it. If you want to hear some more like crossover kind of music between punk and metal, this is definitely an album to go to. Great stuff. Alright, here's some albums I got from my friend Ian from Christmas last year. We got Undertow by Tool, their first album. This album is more kind of alternative metal than their like later progressive stuff, but I've always liked this album. Obviously, you got Sober, Prison Sex, the songs everyone knows from that album. I really like the song Intolerance, too. This is my favorite Tool album. I think 10,000 Days is my favorite, but this is still a really good album. You can't go wrong with Tool. Their fan base is annoying, but their music is good. Another CD my friend Ian got me for Christmas is Catatonia's first album, Dance of December Souls. This is the anniversary version with their first EP, I think, as well. This is back when Catatonia was more of like a black and death metal kind of band, like Death Doom kind of, when they still used scream vocals before the vocalist kind of, I think he messed up his voice. This isn't my favorite sound from Catatonia. I know there's a lot of like metal purists, like those elitist dudes who will cream over this album and Sounds of Decay, I think it's called. No, not Sounds of Decay, that's the EP. It's called Brave Murder Day. They really like this old sound. I do like it, especially this album's really good, but I do prefer later Catatonia, like the second phase after this, which I consider more of like their goth rock kind of phase, is my favorite, but this is still a good album. Sorry, my hands get kind of tired holding my phone. The third thing my friend Ian got me for Christmas is the Post-Human Survival Horror EP by Bring Me the Horizon. I'm not even a huge Bring Me the Horizon fan. I've always thought they were good, but never been like huge into them or blown away by them, but this is a pretty good EP. They kind of go back to some heavier roots. I know the last couple albums have been more like radio rockish. There's a little bit of that on here, but there's some really good songs. You have Kingslayer with Baby Metal, which is good. Parasite Eve and Ludens, I really like. You got the song with Amy Lee. Teardrops is good. Dear Diaries, one of the heavier songs they put out in a long time. And Obey with Youngblood, good song. Pretty good EP. At the very least, got me interested in what they're going to do next. Because like I said, I've never been huge into them. But I am interested. And that single they put out, Die For You, a little bit after this. Or after my last video, I mean. I thought the song was pretty good. So hopefully their next album's good. And finishing up with what my friend Ian got me, it's probably going to throw people off based on what I have, but it's the 50 Greatest Hits compilation from Elvis Presley. Obviously, very out there for considering most of my collection is like metal and punk and rock, but I actually really, really like Elvis. If you look up here, there's my Mountain Dew and CD collection, but if you look up here, I have a Elvis poster. That's his military recruitment photo. And then I have this album in vinyl. I got it just to frame it up here. I don't know what it is. I've never been someone who's been into like old music, like old quote unquote. But something about Elvis, it, like just randomly out of the blue, just caught my attention, and I've gotten really into him. This has like his 50 greatest songs, I guess. I don't usually buy compilations, but with an artist as old as Elvis, you can't really find many like high quality or good pressings of actual albums, so this will do. Some of my favorite Elvis songs, obviously everyone likes Can't Help Falling in Love, Don't Be Cruel, Suspicion, Suspicious Minds, Burning Love. This good stuff. This is one of the artists that has got me to start exploring the older generations of music and kind of appreciate music more as a whole and how music has evolved. But I do really like Elvis. All right, and now on to the album Collide by Skillet. I'm not a big Skillet guy, but I do really like this album. It's one of their heavier ones. It's kind of like Breaking Benjamin-ish type of like alternative metal. The song on this album, Open Wounds, I actually heard when I was like 11 years old on a fucking Naruto AMV, and I only ever knew that song for the longest time, but I randomly gave this album a shot. I'm like, you know, this is pretty good. So like, yeah, I'm not big into Skillet or like Christian music, but this is a really good album. I like it. All right, then you got the Glitch Gang EP from Dropout Kings. They're a new school, like new metal band. Sorry. This is a good EP. It's more like trap metal-y mixed with new metal, but I do really like them. They're one of the better bands in like the new metal revival type of sound. So good EP. I like it. Next we got Konashi, their EP, Why Would You Do It? I actually saw them a couple months after my last video. I saw Konashi open for it was Konashi, Body Thief, Kurt Travis, who was playing with his new band Gold Necklace, as well as like solo stuff, and then Hail the Sun was the headliner. I didn't know much Konashi going into seeing them live, but hearing them live, I was like, man, this band's really good, and I really got into this EP. I really like Coffee and Conversation, and You Understand When You're Older. They're a good band. Okay, next we got from my friend Will. He got me for Christmas Skins by X. This is the first album that came out after he passed away. The album is really short, and you can kind of get the impression that a lot of these songs weren't finished or were kind of scrapped together to release. I think it's not as bad as the album that came after this, Bad Vibes Forever, which sounds just like a bunch of hooks and demos. I don't think I'll get that album. This is probably the last one I'll get, but I do like it. There's some really good songs on here. Staring at the Sky is one of my favorite X songs. Train Food's really good. I like Bad. 1 Minute's okay. The guitar sounds kind of dumb. It kind of sounds like garage band guitar, but this is a good album. Like I said, I probably won't get anything after this, but he put some good songs near the end of his life. And for the last album I got in 2021 for Christmas, my friend Marcos got me the first Deftones album, Adrenaline. Me and him have both been getting really into Deftones over the last year. I've always known them and liked them, like the singles, but I'm starting to dive more into like actual albums from them. And this is their first album when they were more like a nu metal band. I think their later stuff when they came more like shoegaze is better, but this is a good album and a good starting point if you want to get into Deftones and you're a fan of like heavier stuff. There's some good songs like Bored, Engine Number 9. A lot of people know that song. Root is a good album. I want to get some more Deftones. Alright, next is everything I've gotten this year, 2022, up until June. I haven't been going as crazy with CDs this year as I did last year, but I've gotten a decent amount of stuff. So first we got Last Fair Deal Gone Down, the 10th anniversary edition from Catatonia. Like I had already said, this is one of my favorite bands of all time, and this album is fucking incredible. This is one of their best albums. Not my favorite, but it is up there. It's probably like my third favorite. And this album has just so many good choruses, great songwriting. It's like very gloomy and dark. Not heavy. I wouldn't call it heavy, but I'm not looking for heavy from them. Just depressing, gloomy, like hopeless sounding music, and this is arguably their peak of that. This album is fantastic. Okay, next we got This is a box set. It's Obscene Repressed by Benighted. They're like a death grind band. This is a box set. Let me see if I can open it. Probably can't with one hand. Let me try. This came with the deluxe edition of the album, which is actually weird. If you open it, it does a pig squeal, which I'll show you if it decides to do it. There you go. Yeah, that's kind of strange. And then it came with this here, this patch, and as well as a poster or like a wall flag with this album cover on it. It's put up right now. I haven't hung it up yet. I don't feel like getting it out, but yeah, really good band. It's one of the heavier bands that I'm still into, like as far as like heavy, like constant death growls and guttural stuff like that. I really like this band. I want to get their other album, Necrobleed, the box set for that too. Alright, then complete opposite direction, we got the EP Outgrown Things by Movements. They're a post-hardcore emo kind of band. I was really into this EP back in like 2016 when it came out, and it took me years to get it just because I could never find it in stock, but I'm glad I finally picked it up. I haven't really listened to their actual albums, which I'm probably sleeping on, but I really like this EP. As far as like newer emo goes, this is pretty high up there. Really good EP. Then we got The Spotless Mind by Icarus the Owl. This is a swancore type band like Hail the Sun, Dance Gavin Dance. I've known Icarus the Owl for a long time, and I have their album Rearmed Circuits, their newest one. I haven't explored their back catalog that much, but I got into this album recently actually, and I decided to pick it up because it was on sale. This album's pretty good. I really like The Extortionist. That's a really good song. If you like swancore, like math rocky type emo music, I'd check them out. Okay. Next we got Blurry Face by 21 Pilots. Another album that's probably kind of strange for people to see in my collection. I'm not a big 21 Pilots guy, and I'm not really into this kind of music. I guess more like alternative radio kind of alternative. But I do like this album. There's a lot of catchy songs on here. I've known obviously the singles forever, like Stressed Out and Ride. And Heavy Dirty Soul was on I believe a WWE game, and I liked it. I actually just recently decided to give the full album a shot to see what the hype was about. And I mean, this didn't blow me away, but it is very solid. Some really good songs. I like Doubt and Polarize a lot. Those are good songs. I don't know if I'll get another 21 Pilots album because I'm not super into them, but this is a good album. Kind of gives me like kind of Linkin Park, I guess. More like alternative, like poppy Linkin Park, but I like it. Next is actually one of my grails and one of the albums I'm the most glad to have. That is the self-titled from Molotov Solution. I have been searching for this album and wanting it since like 2014. If you're into deathcore and you collect music, you should probably know by now how rare this album is, how hard it is to find, how expensive it is. It's not even on Spotify anymore. This was the only album they did with their original vocalist, and this is one of my favorite deathcore albums ever made, and I've been trying to find it for so long. I've seen it pop up on Discogs over the years so many times, usually like in the $100 range, but I managed to find it, I believe, for like $60, and it's in really good condition. So I'm so glad. This was one of my most sought after CDs for the longest time, and I finally have it in my collection. Alright, next we got The Lonely Position of Neutral by Trust Company. Any of you new metal guys or people who are growing up in the 2000s with that kind of music, you'll probably know this album, especially the song Downfall. This is one of my childhood bands. I heard Downfall it was the intro to a game called MX Unleashed on the PS2 and the Xbox when I was a kid, and I always knew that song, but I only recently, like within the last 2 years, actually started getting into this band as far as listening to their other songs, and this album is really good. It's more like on the Breaking Benjamin side of new metal, where it's more singing than it is screaming, but this is a really solid album. I really like Falling Apart. It's kind of hard to read the track listing. Falling Apart and Hover and Running From Me are great songs. Obviously Downfall, like I mentioned. This is a good new metal album. It's kind of underrated, honestly, because I think a lot of people in the new metal community know Downfall and they know the name Trust Company, but I would highly recommend trying that album out. Very good. Okay, then we got Strange Ways, Here We Come by the Smiths. This is their last album before they broke up. This might be my favorite Smiths album. I'm not certain, but Girlfriend in a Coma is hands down my favorite Smiths song. I like A Rush and a Push and The Land Is Ours. Started Something I Couldn't Finish. This is a great album. I only started getting to the Smiths within the last 2 to 3 years, but when I got into them, I really, really got into them to where like they're one of my favorite bands, period. Like easily my top 5. I slept on them, I guess, my whole life. I've obviously known the name, but I finally clicked with me, and this band is fucking incredible. I love the Smiths. And, you know, that's with the asterisk of, you know, Morrissey's an asshole and all that, but music-wise, the Smiths are incredible. Okay, this is a probably more obscure one. We have 7th Issue by So Taiji. I think I'm saying that right. That name's probably not ringing any bells to anyone unless you're into the Korean music scene or like K-pop. So Taiji was actually the leader of this K-pop group called So Taiji and the Boys from the 90s. They were basically the K-pop group that kind of put K-pop on the map and kind of made K-pop what it is now with like idol groups and the whole culture of K-pop. Surprisingly, he ended up, after the K-pop group broke up, started making solo music, and I guess in a complete 180, he decided to make heavier music. Like, he made new metal, which the album before this is new metal. This is kind of new metal-y, but it's more like on the emo, like post-hardcore side of things. But I really, really love this album. This is probably one of the most underrated albums I've heard, especially from the 2000s, because like obviously it has the obscurity of being a post-hardcore album from a former K-pop idol, but this album is really, really fucking good. It, like, this album, a lot of the songs on it, like Victim and Livewire and Watch Out, all give me like instantly teleport me back into like the 2000s pop punk kind of emo wave of music from like the early 2000s. Even if you're not into Korean music, definitely try this album if you like post-hardcore or like bands like AFI, like their 2000 stuff, like Fall Out Boy, Senses Fail, Silverstein, stuff like that. I cannot recommend this album enough. This album is fucking incredible. And that's also the, I think it's like the 2007 or something anniversary version. But this album is also not easy to find. It's, like I said, the obscurity of being a post-hardcore K-pop album was hard to find, but I'm glad I found it. Definitely recommend that album. Alright, we got Hikari by Ocean's 8 Alaska. Ocean's 8 Alaska are one of my like OG like favorite metalcore bands. Not OG in like them being an older band, but when I was still really, really into my core phase, metalcore and deathcore, Ocean's 8 Alaska were one of my top bands. They're still one of the greatest metalcore bands to ever do it, in my opinion. This is the album, their newest album, which new is kind of a stretch, came out in 2017, but this is the album they did with the other vocalist, who ended up leaving, and then James, the original vocalist, came back recently. I prefer James, especially because like that's who I got into the band with, but this is a really good album. The other vocalist, I don't remember his name. He, I think, has better cleans than James, and his lows are really good, but I don't really like to compare them. They're both good in their own ways, but this is a really good album. I'm really glad James is back, though, and hopefully they have a new album coming out soon, because I really like Ocean's 8 Alaska. I still listen to them, even though I'm not really a core kid anymore. I still really fuck with that band. Alright, we got Brain Thrust Mastery by We Are Scientists. We Are Scientists are like an indie rock, like post-punk revival band. They're also pretty close to, like, I'd say right outside of like my top 10 favorite bands. They're kind of like the Killers, Interpol, Block Party, that kind of sound. They never really got big in America. They're more bigger in like Europe and the UK. This is their second album, or it's technically their third, but their second with a label. This album and the one before it, Love and Squalor, which I also have, are great indie rock albums. Just like very, just, you know, like straightforward, just indie rock, but it's really catchy. The choruses and their guitar riffs are extremely catchy. That's a good album. All right, we got Crooked Teeth by Papa Roach. This is the deluxe version, the 2 CD. I think the second CD has like live stuff on it. Papa Roach, good band. Obviously, everyone knows Papa Roach. Their new metal stuff, like Infest, is a great album. Over the years, they went more like radio rock, more like pop rock. But with this album, in 2017, I think it was, they kind of went back towards new metal a little bit. Not like all the way, but you can tell some of the vibes were there. And this is a pretty good album. Not better than Infest, but there's some really good songs on here. Like Help's a good song. The title track. I like None of the Above, Traumatic. This is a good album. It's not like, it's not mind-blowing. It's pretty straightforward what you expect from Papa Roach, but it's a solid album. I heard their new album's actually pretty good. I want to check that out. Okay, we got more Smiths. We got The Queen is Dead, the deluxe remaster version. Everyone knows this album. You know, a lot of people say it's one of the greatest albums of all time. This album is fucking incredible, and I definitely get why it's considered one of the greatest albums of all time. It's hard for me to determine what my favorite Smiths album is, because they're all so good. It's so hard to pick, but this album is up there. Of course, you got, like, Frankly, Mr. Shankly is a great song. Cemetery Gates. Big Mouth Strikes Again, The Boy with a Thorn in His Side. There's the Light That Never Goes Out. There's so many iconic, masterful tracks on this album. At this point, I now have every Smiths album except for the compilation Louder Than Bombs, which isn't really an album. It's more like a compilation of singles, but that compilation is also incredible, and I really want to get that. But other than that, I have all of the discography of the Smiths now. Okay, we got Goodbye to the Gallows by Amir. This isn't like rare, but it's getting pretty uncommon nowadays, especially because it was a Victory Records album, I think. Amir gets a lot of hate, but this is a pretty solid album in like the early deathcore, metalcore scene. I'm not like a huge Amir fan, but this is a really good album. It's kind of like they were kind of ahead of the curve as far as incorporating some like new metal elements into their music. They did it more in later albums, but you can tell like they have a little bit of those vibes. But this is a pretty solid, I don't know if you would call it metalcore or deathcore. It's kind of both, but good album. I like it. Okay, then we got One of Us is the Killer by Dillinger Escape Plan. I'm not very well versed on mathcore, like this style of mathcore, but I heard this album a long time ago, like 2016, and I never picked it up until now. This is a really good album. I'm not really well versed in this band or this genre, like I said, but there's some really good songs here. They're very, very chaotic band, like as with mathcore, that's what you expect. But on like Prancer, When I Lost My Bet, those are great songs. What else we got? Nothing's Funny, Understanding Decay, those are great songs. The title track's a good song. I need to get more into this band and like mathcore in general, but this is a really good album. I think the album cover's sick. But yeah, Dillinger Escape Plan, good band. Only got a couple left here. These are the most recent CDs I've gotten. We have Dankosaurus by Hunt the Dinosaur. This is a pretty newer deathcore band. They're kind of like Attila, where they have like a lot of rap, but they do it way better than Attila. I'm not still in my face where I'm like, oh, Attila's garbage. You know, they're not for me, but people like them. If any of you deathcore guys remember Holy Guile, they're a lot like them, where it's like technical kind of deathcore with more like decent rapping. Like, as much as I think Franz is a good vocalist, but I do not like his rap at all. Hunt the Dinosaur, I think their rap's decent, or at least passable. I actually got this, I just saw Hunt the Dinosaur live with Veil of Maya, Born of Osiris, Victims, and Slay Squad. And I actually went up to the merch table, and Hunter, the vocalist of Hunt the Dinosaur, was the one running it. And I bought it from him, and I actually got a picture with him. But I could never find this online. I only found it at the show, so I'm glad I picked it up. But this is a good album. They're a pretty good up-and-coming band. I checked them out. Okay, we got two left. We got Subliminal Criminals by Straight From The Path. This is a band I've been getting into a lot over the last year. I've always known them. and I've liked like 2 or 3 songs, but I started to really get into them. This band's really good. They're kind of like a modern day Rage Against the Machine, where they're very politically charged and have a lot of like rap influence. They're kind of like also a mix of like punk and metalcore, but this band is really, really good. One thing I really like is a band with a message, and they have a really good political message as far as like progressive viewpoints and, you know, songs against like police brutality and stuff like that. This is a great album. Straight from the Path is a very underrated band. They've been doing it for a while, and I feel like they don't get enough credit, but they are a very good band. I actually got this album for like $2 on a merch sale, but good album. And last is actually an album that came out this month, or I guess within the last couple weeks. It's the new Motionless in White album, Scoring the End of the World. This is on their website, they had a pre-order where there was like 3 different album covers, and it was random which one you got, and I got this one. Newest Motionless in White album, one of my all-time favorite bands in the core, quote-unquote core genre. They're not really that much of a core band nowadays, but this album's really good. Motionless in White never disappoints. I think they're not really a band that puts out bad music. There's some great songs on here, like Slaughterhouse with Brian from Knocked Loose. You got Masterpiece. That's, I think, one of the best songs they've ever written. They actually made a sequel to Burned at Both Ends, which is from Infamous. Cyberhex, that song got pretty big when it came out. But very good album. I think it's almost like on par with the last one they put out, Disguise, which is also really good. But yeah, I'm happy for this band. It seems like they're still going on pretty good all these years later. And I think they're kind of underrated nowadays. I think after they stopped their metalcore kind of phase, a lot of people started sleeping on them, but Motionless in White are still a very consistent band. Right, anyways, you see here, that's everything I've gotten as of July 1st, 2022 when I'm recording this. Like I said, this year hasn't been crazy as far as me getting a lot of CDs. I've been kind of cutting back a little bit because if you look up here, my shelf is getting pretty loaded. I mean, I still have all these spots that I move stuff, but I'm trying to cut back because I have over 200 CDs, and I'm just trying to kind of, you know, let my collection sit for a bit. If any new albums come out that I really want, I'll get them, obviously. Or if I see one of my like grails or most sought after for a good price, I'll obviously pick them up. But yeah, hopefully we continue to get some good music this year, and I can do a video and actually be on time, somewhere on time around the end of this year, and show you what I've gotten since this video. Anyways, thanks for watching. I know this is another like unedited just iPhone video, but I'm not really trying to do any like professional quality video. I just want to share my love of music and show what I got. So hopefully you guys enjoyed. If there's any CDs you have questions about, or any bands or like albums you want to recommend, just put a comment below, and hopefully I will see you guys maybe in another 6 months or at the beginning of next year with more CDs. But that's it, guys. Have a good one.